The word Tao, depending on how it's translated, means something like the way or the path or a road. It's really kind of a series of ideas, concepts, precepts, if you will, about how to live a life that's balanced in harmony with one's own nature and with the greater nature.
Yeah.
One of the things Taoists always look at, I think, really nicely is the big picture, the macrocosm, and the little picture, your life, your thoughts, your feelings, your existence, the microcosm, and how those two things connect and balance each other, I think is something that every human being has questions about. What thinking human being, because some human beings don't really think that much, but what thinking human being doesn't have questions about who am I? Why am I here? What's the purpose of my life? Where did I come from? And where am I going?
Yeah.
And I think that, in my opinion, that's what the Tao Te Ching is here to give us, not an answer, but guidelines for each individual to really find those answers for themselves. There are no Taoist evangelists. They won't. Taoists, we don't come to your door, asking for you to believe anything or asking for handouts on Saturday morning or something. You'll never find a Taoist anywhere in the world doing that. Yeah. There are very few Taoist establishments out there, and at least in the United States. I dare you to go try to find a Sunday service on Taoism.
Right. Wait, the thing I liked, I was reading a book. I was studying up for this podcast, and what I really enjoyed is there's no evangelizing. There's no punishment for not getting with. I mean, the punishment is maybe leading a less fulfilling life, right?
Yes.
But the idea of the Tao was that it's basically, here's this book, try it. It will work for you, and you will continue practicing it. Yes. It's if you don't practice this, you're going to burn in hell, or you're not going to go to heaven, or anything like that. It's just like, this works. Try it out. People dig it, and that I find that much more comforting than here. Carrots and sticks. I'm going to whack you with a stick if you don't get into this. How do you genuinely learn something if it's on the other end is punishment? It's not a genuine experience, I feel. But this is like, take it or leave it.
Exactly. Taoism is very strange in one sense. Most philosophical and spiritual and certainly religious practices have a set of beliefs. Yeah. And if you don't believe in these things, then something negative is going to probably happen to you.
Right.
And certainly you won't gain admission into the exalted status of being a follower of their system unless you testify, sometimes literally, that you believe. I believe in this and I believe in that. Taoists have none of that.
Yeah.
But instead, this idea that there are certain things about this world, about this universe, that are constant. For example, one day follows the next. We know that this day has a beginning, it's going to have a middle, it's going to have an end, and then seamlessly it blends right into the next day.
Yeah.
And every day the sun rises. Thank goodness.
And so far it has.
So far, so good.
I'm not betting on it tomorrow, but who knows?
For billions of years, the world is turned, the sun is spinning around. And so there are repeatable patterns that we know. And when it's hot, what should we do? We should probably do something to make sure that we stay relatively cool.
Right.
When it's freezing cold, we probably need to do something to get a little bit warmer. These ideas, that notion that I just mentioned, as the Chinese would say, yin and yang, yin, something that's more cool, that's more quiet, that's more gentle, yang, something that's more fiery, warmer, hotter, active, activity, passivity. The sun, the moon, the day, the night. These notions are part and parcel of really what Lao Tzu, the purported writer of the Tao Te Ching, I think was getting at.
Yeah.
And if we can live our life in harmony with these ongoing natural cycles, we're going to be much more fulfilled. We're going to be happier. And if we don't, if we cling to one end or another, no, I only want the day. I only want the hot. I only want, and that's beginning to sound familiar too. I want this. I want that. And I need something to be a certain way. Once we get attached to extremes at one end or the other, that's when life tends to become very unfulfilling and challenging. And I think that the Tao Te Ching for centuries now has given us kind of a little gentle nudge in the right direction. Again, there's no hard and fast rules in this text, but there are gentle nudges to think about things.
Now, do you find that because there are no hard and fast rules, that it's actually almost more difficult for someone to be a cultivator of the Tao versus thou shalt not do this, thou shalt not do that, and have this really rigorously prescribed way of living versus how am I going to find harmony in today? Yes. How am I going to be grateful today? How, it feels much more challenging, but then again, maybe it's more worth it in some way if it is more challenging.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It is more challenging because a famous psychologist, Erich Fromm, years ago wrote a book called Escape from Freedom, where he said that, mankind's natural state of being should be free, to be free. But yet we run from it with a passion. We want other people or some other system or some book to tell us exactly what's right, what's wrong, what's true, what's false. And we escape. We don't want the responsibility, the total, overwhelming, awesome responsibility of having to find that out for ourselves.
Yeah.
And so we give up our freedom to other people, to other systems, to authorities to tell us what's real for us. And in my opinion, what the Tao Te Ching, what the Taoists have always done is said, look, it's all about you. It's about you existing as a consciousness in this universe. As far as you are concerned, the only reason this universe exists is because of you.
Yeah.
If you weren't here, none of this would exist for you.
Yeah.
And so if you are in fact the kind of source of your universe, then who is there out there to tell you how to live your life and what to do and what's right and what's wrong and what's reasonable and what's not reasonable? Now, if you are conscious and paying attention, you're going to start to get feedback from others and from your environment about what's working, what's furthering. And and we know there's a famous Taoist saying, everything furthers. Everything furthers.
What was it that the Ken Kesey, like the Merry Pranksters or whatever, they had the bus that was further, I think was the name of the bus or the license plate or something. So just keep going.
I like that.
Keeping on.
I like that.
So if you were to, at the onset of this series of podcasts we're going to put out, would there be a way that you could see that man again that comes up to your temple, where we're sitting right now in Temple, North Hollywood, and say, what's this Tao all about? Could you do it in a sentence? Could you do it in 3 sentences and quickly sum up what it is for somebody who just grabbed this podcast out of nowhere, thought to themselves, what's this Tao all about? Are they going to talk in circles? Are they going to give me the answer here?
Well, I don't know about answers, but we certainly will give. I think the Tao certainly offers direction and guidance. Now let's go to the book for a second. Yeah. What is the very first thing out of Lao Tzu's mouth in the Tao Te Ching? The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. What?
Yeah.
Right off the bat, he's telling you that I can't tell you what this is. And so if Lao Tzu can't tell us what this is, far be it from little old me to try to tell you what the Tao is all about.
So we're gonna point in the direction of the Tao, is what you're saying.
But we can definitely point in the direction of the Tao, and then you will tell me what your Tao is all about, what your way is all about. One thing that is absolutely true is that not one human being on this earth is exactly like any other human being on this earth.
Correct.
Not one day on this earth is exactly like any other day on this earth. Not one second is exactly like any other second that ever existed out of trillions and trillions. Now, what are we supposed to do with that? The fact that everything is in constant flux, everything is continuously changing. And in fact, the ancient Taoists said many times over that the only constant in life is change.
Right.
But yet we as human beings, we hate it. We can't stand change.
Yeah.
We give lip service to it. Oh, I like to change. I like to get better. I like to this. We're lying.
Yeah.
We hate change. We want to stay exactly the same because there's comfort and familiarity.
Yes.
If you have a place to live and you go back home today and it's still there and kind of looks the same way and hasn't burned down or something, you probably feel pretty good about that, right?
I was getting frustrated with myself at a certain point where I thought, I'd like to be a more consistent human being, right? And then I thought, how ludicrous of an idea is that really to be with, in a world of constant flux with me, I just want that comfort of being a consistent person who maybe wakes up at the same time every day, that maybe does all the things to put himself in the correct mood, but you're kind of chasing the dragon, right?
Yes.
And I think to myself, other people feel very consistent to me, right? Why am I feeling inconsistent? I realize that probably internally to them, they're just as kind of wild and inconsistent as one would think.